just look at the reason why we're seeing such a sustained drop in share prices, given the fact that overall we seem to be seeing improving economic fundamentals across Kenya's investment environment.
Yes, thank you for having me. I think what we are seeing in the market at the moment is the market is shifting towards the price target strategy, whereby even with small marginal increases, the investors are moving in to cash in on the small gains. So what we are seeing from last week coming into this week is investors coming in to cash in on their marginal price gains.
But why are they cashing in on those marginal price gains, given that the longer term, even if you say medium term investment case for Kenya remains very strong? Certainly, we have been seeing that tourist arrivals from abroad into Kenya have been increasing. Then we have also the optimism created around the constitution. Why are people taking a short-term view when the fundamentals look sound?
I think even politically, after the promulgation of the new constitution, we still are not able to take a long-term view because we have to see how the implementation will take place and shape up the political climate in the country. Therefore, there are still uncertainties as far as we know, because many cases we've had incidences during implementation and different parties taking different political positions at the parliament. So we are still here to take a long-term perspective.
So this sounds very much like a case of trusting the politicians.
Correct.
So where to now from here? Because if people are not taking the view that Kenya's economic fundamentals long-term look good and therefore are taking a short-term view, what about the other factor that we're also seeing at the same time, the coming together of the East African community? Isn't that a positive signal that perhaps people should take and look at the larger market, extrapolate and say companies surely are going to begin to see earnings improve because they will be able to sell their product to a larger market?
Yes, I think even with the opening up of the East African community, we are to see more companies expand to the East African region. We are to see demand for goods and services steaming up. We are yet also to see the private sector having more access to capital. The banks are still reluctant on their lending and expanding even to the households. So we are to see the households being empowered in terms of their purchasing power so that even the firms themselves can increase their consumer demand.
Let's come to results that we saw today with East African Cables coming in with a 93% drop in first half pre-tax profits. How did the market take to those results? I know the stock was down earlier.
Yeah, I think on a long-term view, the market was not expecting East African Cables to perform well. On a backdrop of the global metal prices, this is one of the things that are eating up the profitability of the company, and also its subsidiary in Tanzania has not been performing well. So this was well expected by the market.
So well expected to the market, but still we're seeing that stock down today. I think the last number that I see, it was down 3.3% to 18 shillings. Does that bring it in, at least into the view that perhaps at these levels value could start creeping in and perhaps investors could start looking at the stock again and take say maybe a medium to short-term view?
Yes, the decline was partly attributed to the general decline of the market, and now in addition to the results, the performance announcement. But generally what I think is that the prices will start looking appealing once again to the investors, and therefore probably towards the end of this week and early next week, we should be able to see investors coming in because of the appealing prices.
Yeah. Now, in the past few days, one of the stocks that has been under pressure has been Safaricom, and we do know that it is a very big barometer of how the market is performing generally. Now, we know it's been under pressure because of all the issues around competition, the price cuts, and also the regulators coming in and putting their foot into there. How much is that a factor, taking into consideration that the price cuts that we have seen should at least drive subscriber numbers growth?
Yeah, I think what you're witnessing in the market are opposing investment strategy between the local investors and the foreign investors, because what we saw after the announcement by Zain of cutting their tariffs by half, we saw the local investors rushing in to sell off their holdings on Safaricom. On the other hand, we saw the foreign investors coming in to mop up the sell-offs by the local investors. What we are going to see, I think, is that the foreign investors are still taking up the share, despite the international investment banks downgrading the stock. We saw it stabilize at around 4 shillings and 85 cents, which at the moment it's still standing. But I think that is an appealing price for at least a medium-term uptick.
Yeah, but what are foreign investors seeing that the locals are not seeing?
Safaricom came up with a counter strategy whereby they offered a 1-month promotion on their tariffs. And we wouldn't be surprised if they took this tariff to be a long-term tariff, if they maintained it to be a long-term tariff. What I think, despite the decline in the voice, which still makes up 70% of their revenue, I think the data position is still very young. There's still more room for growth in that, and I think that is where Safaricom wants to focus on.